Hello class, and welcome to lesson 2.6a, properties of triangles and quadrilaterals. And instead of a warm-up today, I think I mentioned in the last video that we were going to have a quiz today. So it's just a quick quiz instead of a warm-up, just to gauge how you're doing and getting you ready for the upcoming test. Again, see Miss R in class for the actual test dates or the website. She'll post them on there. So what I want you to do, folks, is I want you to do this quiz to the best of your ability. And I want you to pause the video and answer it. Okay, and then after you come back, the answers are posted on the next page. I want you to actually mark your quiz. It should be out of 16 marks. So if you're wondering the marking scheme, this is going to be 6 marks. This one's going to be 4 marks. And this one's going to be 6 marks because you're doing multiple steps or 2 different questions in the same thing. So give it a total of 16. And I want to see how you did. Okay, I'd like your feedback. Again, if you're doing really well, awesome. If you're not, then come see me for some extra help. Let's get you prepared for this upcoming test. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video now and complete this quiz. Pause. Okay, folks, hopefully you're welcome back, and hopefully you did a good job on your quiz. Let's take it up. Okay, I apologize. Let's get all those marks off there. Give me a second. I just copied the answers in, so that looks better. There we go. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, calculating the length, you got the length formula. Don't forget to take the square root, so you're going to have 13, and please put in units. Poor Miss R forgot to put that in. All right, looking at your slope, using that formula, don't forget your subscript information. I'd like that in there. And the slope is -5/12. And your midpoint, you can either have 0, comma, -1/2 or 0, comma, 0.5. All right, step 2, out of 4 marks, you were given the endpoint and a midpoint. So you got to set this up differently. Just remember, folks, that a definition of an equation is the left side has to equal the right side. So, for example, the x-coordinate on the left has to equal the x-coordinate on the right, and that's what I did right here. Okay? Likewise, the y-coordinate on the left has to equal the y-coordinate on the right, which I did here. Once you find your x and y, do not forget, folks, to put it in an ordered pair at the end. All right. And the last step is what we learned yesterday, or last class, ladies and gentlemen, last video, using the new equation. X minus p plus q. All right, so first of all, you sub in the slope, and you can sub in the point at the same time. Doesn't matter. Don't forget to do distributive law and collect like terms. So 3 marks for each of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now we're going to get into today's lesson, and today's lesson is period 2.6a, properties of quadrilaterals. So we're going to learn something new today, and that's called a perpendicular bisector. So this is used in surveying a lot, and in architecture a lot, wherever you need to. And you think about the word perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular means 90 degrees. Okay, and bisector, to bisect something means you need the midpoint. So we're going to be doing some of the work that we did in the past, like finding the midpoint and finding the slope. And then remember, when we need something 90 degrees, you've got to do that negative reciprocal. And we're going to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector. So we have 3 steps, ladies and gentlemen. Please write this down plus this diagram. Okay, so your 3 steps are: 1, get the slope of AB. The reason why we need the slope of AB is so then we can get 90 degrees from it, okay? Because then we're going to get the perpendicular slope. All right, so that's dealing with the perpendicular part of perpendicular bisector. The second step is getting the bisector, which is the midpoint, so telling me where on this line we will be equal distance apart. And then the third is subbing those both in to find the equation, because you always express the perpendicular bisector as an equation. All right, let's try today's example here, folks. Okay, just give me 1 second. All right, here we go. So taking a look here, folks, we've got to determine the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line segment AB. Okay, so step 1, we're going to match these up here. You don't need to write it down. I just will for the video so people know. We're going to find the slope. So slope, lowercase m, of AB equals y2, which is negative 6, subtract y1 over x2, subtract a negative becomes plus 3. Okay. Simplifying the numerator is negative 8. Simplifying the denominator is 8. So you're going to get, ladies and gentlemen, slope equaling negative 1. Now remember, to find slope perpendicular, you need to flip the fraction and change the sign. So first of all, it's negative. We know it's got to be positive. But just remember, by definition, negative 1 really equals negative 1 over 1. So you flip the fraction, it's going to be 1 over 1. So the slope perpendicular is just going to equal 1. So just remember, how did we get that? Negative reciprocals. Awesome. Okay, step 2, ladies and gentlemen. Step 2 is to find the bisector, so we need the midpoint. That's a capital M. So MAB equals the addition of your two x's divided by 2 plus the addition of your y's divided by 2. Okay, simplify that through, and we have 1 and negative 2. All right, I don't need the middle step of simplification, guys, because you've already been tested on that in the previous lesson, okay? All right, so we found that. Now step 3, we need to find the equation. So what we need to do is to sub in, first of all, we're going to sub in m perpendicular. So m perpendicular equals 1. And ordered pair is the actual midpoint, so we're going to let the x be p and the y be q. So we're going to say P equals 1 and Q equals negative 2. And we're going to sub it into that equation that we learned last lesson. I'll just write it out in case you forgot. It's y equals m, x minus P plus Q. So let's sub in all three at the same time, guys. So we're going to go y equals 1, x minus 1, and then subtract 2. Okay, so we need to collect like terms here. Okay. Well, distributive law tells us that cancels out. So 1 times x is 1, and 1 times negative 1 is 1. So you drop your brackets and then collect like terms. So you got x minus 3. So there is your equation. All right, so we're going to be using that in the future. So that's part of the lesson. Now today, folks, I want you to do, for the rest of our lesson, we're going to complete investigation, which is in our textbook. So as long as you just write down investigation page 101 as a class, we're going to be doing that. So flip in your textbook to page 101, and you'll see properties of quadrilaterals. And notice the graph there, folks. The graph. I'm just going to list the ordered pairs up here so it's helpful. So 2 and 1 is A, B is 10 and 2, C is 12 and 8, and ordered pair D is 4 and 7. So normally in class, if I was doing this in class, I'd split you up into groups so that you would do this. So I just need you to do some quick calculations, folks, based on what the questions ask. So it says, first of all, calculate the slope of each side of the quadrilateral. So I'm going to assume by now you could take, if I said slope AB, you could take the A, the B, do y2, subtract y1 over x2, subtract x1, and get an answer. So you'll get an answer of 1 over 8. Okay? Then you do a calculation for slope of BC, which is these two. Again, use the same formula, plug it in, you'll get an answer of 3. Okay? Then we're going to do CD, which is C and D. Okay? Plug it in your calculator, and you'll get 1 over 8. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, AD, so you're going to use the A coordinate and your D. Plug it in your calculator, and you will get 3. So let's get a summary of what we have here, folks. So what we should notice is that we've got some slopes that are the same. Okay? And what do we know if the slopes are the same? That means they must be what? Parallel lines. So first of all, we state M of AB equals M of CD, and M of BC equals M of AD. Now you know, guys, why I made you label those subscripts so you can keep track of them. And so what does that tell us? Therefore, we have 2 sets of opposite parallel lines. Okay? And by definition, if we have two sets of opposite parallel lines, we have a parallelogram. Very good. Okay, so that does B part. Explain why the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Second part says to calculate the length of each side. So again, you're going to use the same groupings with the same colors. I'll try to keep it color coded for you. So do the length formula, that's that big square root 1 of AB, plug it in your calculator, and you should get 8.1. Okay, do the calculation for BC, and that will be 3. I apologize, my fault. 6.3, I missed the 6 there. 6.3. Okay. If you did the length formula for CD, you would get 8.1. And if you did the length formula for AD, I'm sorry, I forgot to color code this nicely. Let me fix that up. 8.1. And if you did AD, you would get 6.3. So what do we notice, folks? Again, we have summary, AB equals CD, and we have that BC equals AD. Now, these are different than above, because above was slopes. These are lengths, right? So we're going to say, therefore, two sets of opposite sides, put an S in there, are equal in length. All right. Okay, next question 3 says to find the midpoints of the diagonals. So you got to be careful. So just visualize in your textbook, guys, the diagonals. So one diagonal is going to be A to C, and the other diagonal is going to be B to D. And it wants you to calculate the midpoint of that. So you plug it into the big capital M midpoint formula. So plug that in, and you will get a midpoint of 7 and 4.5. And for the other diagonal, it's going to be 7 and 4.5. This is a really cool mathematical feature because the midpoint of AC equals the midpoint of BD. And what does that mean? Therefore, the diagonals bisect each other. That's really cool for mathematics, right? But the diagonals bisect each other. And that's awesome. All right, let's do a quick summary here, folks, of properties of parallelograms. The opposite sides are equal in length and in slope. And the diagonals bisect each other, meaning they cut each other in half. Cool. That's pretty awesome stuff. So let's practice this material, folks, on page 104 and 105, numbers 1 and 4. Have a fabulous day, guys, and enjoy that lovely weather outside.